to the interwebs.
I believe not only are we back, but we're back and live for the first after hours tasting in what I assume has been quite a long while. It's been about 3 weeks. My name is Scott Fitzsimons. Sticking to my right here is Joseph Perry. G'day, how are we all doing? It's the comeback that no one asked for. No one petitioned for this. There were more people campaigning out on the streets talking about 5G causing COVID-19 than asking for us back, but none of your wishes have been answered. We're back.
I had a few requests.
You had a few requests. I had none. They
away.
said, go away, Scott. I'm back. It's good fun. It's good to be back. We've been doing nothing but eating kale and fruit, drinking fruit juice and doing all the healthy stuff. We called our mum. We called our dad. We connected with family. We've done all the healthy stuff and we're back. And it's lovely to be back here at Oak Barrel After Hours, episode 27. Joey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. I've thoroughly enjoyed the last couple of weeks. Not to say that I haven't enjoyed the weeks when you have also been here, but in the past 3 weeks I've got to play my best Scott Fitzsimons impression, whether that be on live streams or here in store alike. And yeah, it's been good fun. It doesn't take long until people figure out that I have no idea what I'm talking about. But it's the early stages they're great. Really
I'm a big fan of fake it until you make it.
Yeah. So it's been good. I mean, obviously you yourself, you've had a bit of time off. How was that?
Yeah, it was bloody genius, mate.
Yeah.
Bloody genius. Three weeks is all you need to do absolutely nothing and just reconnect with yourself. Drank a lot. I ate, which is a new and unusual thing for me. Ate some food.
I heard that's all right.
Apparently that stuff is not only keeps you alive, but it's tasty sometimes as well when you get it right. But yes, no. But what have I missed? The world has changed in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think it has. I mean, obviously here in the store has been an interesting vibe of a lot of packing. I know we said sort of before the hiatus that we were madly packing boxes left, right, and centre, and that hasn't changed. But yeah, been having a lot of fun with the virtual element of the Oak Barrel, and this being one of them. What have you missed? You missed virtual sherry tasting with the one and only Ian Barr, which was so much fun. So much fun. Really enjoyed that. Great to get some regulars and some new faces as well into the scene. That was great fun. And then after that, we did the whiskey, the Westwood whiskey tasting with Miles.
That was good. I saw that.
A lot
Watched
of fun.
that from afar.
That was great. And then we did a Burgundy virtual tasting, little intro too, with a white and a red. Again, just went down a treat. Lots of good feedback. Really, yeah, a lot of positive energy coming from the virtual crowd. Then we had Boutique 3.
Boutique 3?
I think, with Simon and Dave, which was a lot, like, super cool. The games and stuff were a lot of fun. I actually, admittedly, didn't watch the first two, so I was going into that one pretty blind, but yeah, the games were a lot of fun. And then Hungarian Tokai with the two Hungarian guests from Remus and the Royal Takashi Company, the one and only Paul Downey, and myself. It's been busy.
Been busy.
It's
been good.
been a fun few weeks.
I'm glad you played some games, because in my wide and weary travels, I did not find any games to play anywhere. There is still no sport going on, apart from rugby league, which is coming back, which is going to be excellent. Looking forward to rugby league.
Can't wait.
And AFL, which is quite interesting. Throw a lot of footballers up at the Gold Coast.
Yeah, right.
What could go wrong? Yeah. Alrighty. Start drinking already, says Brittany Murphy. That seems like a good thing. We are live on a few different channels tonight, so Joey, if you can take control of the Instagram with the young kids.
I mean, you don't take control of Instagram.
Okay,
you just kind of let it do its own thing.
That's all right. Yeah, that's one thing that hasn't changed, and I'll take control of the Facebook and the YouTube, where me and the old people hang up. A quick g'day to David and/or Caroline Tater down in Tassie. But we had a glass of wine in our hands while we were setting up, and I don't have a glass of wine now.
Sorry.
So I reckon we should do that again. Let's do that.
So yeah, obviously, not obviously, but actually coming off the tail end of another virtual tasting, which we did for a group of really good customers of ours this afternoon. So we delved into some smaller, more boutique Victorian producers, which we'll probably go through tonight and just look at it. But yeah, jumping straight in with Sean Crinian's dappled single vineyard Pinot Noir 2018 Les Bois. So super steep vineyard in the Upper Yarra Valley with a little bit of new oak, about 30% whole bunch in there as well. But I just spent the last 3 hours probably going through these. So
Beautiful.
I'm keen for a catch up. I'm going to have some fun.
Beautiful. We are going to do a few things tonight. We're going to drink some wine. We're going to drink some agave spirit. We're probably going to drink some whiskey. We're probably going to have a little bit of a go. But it's good to start with this. Now, first and foremost, when I hear the word dappled, I think of the famed Sydney band of the noughties, Dappled Cities Fly.
Of course.
Yeah, so obviously anyone on Instagram is going to be way too young to understand what I'm talking about here, but maybe someone on Facebook might remember Dappled Cities Fly. Can't remember who. The bloke's name was just called Dave Dappled. He was one of those guys who his last name wasn't important enough. He just took on the name of his band. So if anyone remembers that bloke, say g'day for me. Haven't seen him in a little while. So Pinot Noir. It's something I haven't done enough of. And as soon as I've been back in Sydney now for, or at least in the CBD for about 3 or 4 days, and I've just been standing at the front of bars waiting for them to open. Some people say I've been drooling, but I haven't been, because I only drool when I've had enough Pinot Noirs. True. I need some more Pinot Noir in my life. What can you tell us about this one?
Really kind of interesting. I was sort of saying to the guys earlier that we cracked a bunch of bottles for the sort of tasting of Victorian producers and grape varieties, and this was the one that I kind of just opened and just did that, like you open it, you just that cheeky little smile, and you're like, yeah, okay.
The cheeky smile.
Pretty happy with that one.
The cheeky smile.
Yeah. But honestly, just without going into a full blown lecture on vineyard side and winemaking productions, it's something that there's not a lot of it. Really tiny production, but just such an excellent expression of cooler climate, Upper Yarra, single, for what this vineyard gives to the wine. Light, decadent. We spoke a little bit about whole bunch. We spoke a little bit about new oak. This for me is just like the epitome of balance.
Bloody tasty.
Yeah.
Bloody tasty.
Like the oak is there and you know it, but it's not ushering out any fruit characteristic. It's not offering anything that is slightly unpleasant. It's just really playing that backseat character, carrying it through, really lifting those bright red aromas towards it, really floral. Such an excellent wine, and it's not even fair to say that he's underrated because he's highly rated, but there's just not enough of this stuff out there to capture our hearts. So it's a very special wine to be drinking at this point.
As you know, Joey, I'm a big fan of reading labels, and there's a lot of interesting information, lots of nerdy information, which gets me very excited. Tell me about MV6 clone, please.
So,
from its heritage, its birth, into its modern-day incarnation.
So MV6 is Mother Vine 6.
Mother Vine 6.
Yeah. So one of the original Pinot Noir clones to be brought into Australia, and probably one of the more common you'd see with D5, V12, and maybe 777 as well. That's cultivated here in Australia, along with a bunch of other different clones. But I mean, Mother Vine 6 is generally one of the most common clones you'd see in Pinot. Where
are we talking Busby introduced?
Yep.
Busby.
Yeah. So original Busby clones. But I think that what I really like about this and this wine in particular, that shows up really good on the Instagram actually.
It does.
So for this guy's on Facebook there. That's the wine there. It's just vineyard character. It's all vineyard character in this wine. I just don't think nothing's been messed with, nothing's been, changed or taken away from the way it was initially made to be. I drink a lot of Sean's appellation wines, he does an appellation Pinot, which is a little bit more entry level, and they are just so drinkable and super enjoyable. This just has so much character. Like I said, it's probably been open now 3 hours or so, and it's just getting better and better and better and better.
Yeah, it's. I've just jotted down a question about something else I'm going to ask you, maybe a little bit later, in terms of vineyard character and different grapes and that sort of thing. But we've got a little bit to go through tonight, which is excellent. I hate holidays because all a holiday does is pile up your inbox and you lose momentum and track of everything you're doing. But one of the good things is that these days my inbox gets clogged up and the backlog of samples we need to drink backs up as well. So there's actually quite a bit to go through tonight. So I know that we've got a few wines. I might save that question that I've got there for wine that's going to be coming up a little bit later. Yeah, I mean, how much of this do we get? Like, what does this sit on the shelf for? Roughly?
I think it sits on the shelf around $42. Again, like probably not the most, insane price wine we have in the store. But like I said, just not underrated, just undiscovered.
Yeah.
Really, it's, really, really outstanding winemaker, really, really outstanding wines. And Yarra, but not in your face Yarra. I mean, there's a lot of Yarra going around that's really quite heavy on the new oak, or there's a lot of whole bunch in there that can be quite intense. This kind of keeps its personality without straying too far from where it came from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what you want a wine to talk to. You don't want a wine that doesn't say anything.
It's a wine you really enjoy, but it's a wine you can also sit down with and just kind of really get into. I mean, just watching this evolve tonight has been pretty special. It's
evolved right out of my glass.
Yeah.
It's evolved. It's gone.
Stoked on this one.
Keep on rolling. It is still what they drink in heaven, I believe, Pinot Noir.
Yeah, I think the last time I checked.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, good. Just double checking that is what they still drink in heaven.
But yeah, I mean, I suppose one of the one things that that I steer clear of quite avidly is drawing assumptions between Pinot Noir that's made in Australia and Pinot Noir that is made in another region of the world. That is a bit of a buzzword for Pinot Noir production as well. So it was just so fun to sit down and just describe an Australian Pinot Noir for exactly what it is, without using references from certain regions in Eastern France.
Are you talking about when wines from an Eastern France region come out and they taste like Pinot Noir grown in orange?
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't know.
That's what I think that's what you're talking about.
But it just it's we get to do a lot of it here in the store, but it's so great to just go, this is Australian Pinot Noir at its almost best. At probably some of the top Pinot that's made in the Yarra. Without going, well, yeah, it's really good because it tastes like X.
Yeah. One of the things that I've been doing a little bit in these daiquiri times of self-isolation and sitting at home by yourself is watching a bit of live stream sport, which is on sort of video games and that sort of thing, like the video game car racing these days. And they sort of do that little thing where every time someone subscribes or donates 30 cents, they come up on the stream and a little stupid widget comes up. We don't have that. I don't have that here with me right now. But what I do have is still my phone recording online orders. So whoever bought that bottle of whatever it was for $700, thank you very much. I can see the number, don't know who it was, don't know what it was, but that's our equivalent of talking about to prove that we're live. Normally we could say at the score and this sort of thing is live to sort of say prove that we're live, but I can't do that, but we definitely are live, and thank you for that order. Now, you want to drink some more grapes, or should we get into some spirits?
Mate, it's up to you. It's your comeback. I've been here the whole time. Well, I'm quite enjoying this.
You only get one comeback, don't you? People get bored after a while, after a few comebacks. Let's do another wine, I think, because we're going to spend a little bit of time on some agave spirit in a little bit.
Yeah. Really enjoyed this actually.
Yeah, I need to put it away, otherwise I'm going to drink it all. It is very, and it's so silky, so elegant.
Yeah, but it's not that. It doesn't have that wishy-washy kind of character.
No.
Sort of see.
I think that's what you want in a wine as well. You want it to mean something. You want it to have a purpose and a place.
What's next?
What's next?
So this was probably another highlight, actually, from Renata and Ollie out of the Macedon Ranges. Lion's Will, the second vintage release of their Gamay, which is again really interesting. Apparently they're one of two commercial producers of Gamay in the Macedon Ranges. I can't find the other one for the life of me, so I'm going to consider them the only commercial producer of Gamay in the Macedon Ranges, with about 60% carbonic and then 40% pressed and fermented. Such a cool wine, really, really cool. It's high up, I think about 550 meters above sea level for that, which is quite high compared to Sean, who's about 170 at his Pinot vineyard. But just a really, really cool take on cool climate Gamay.
A take. That's an interesting word. Take.
Well, how often do you hear the word Gamay and immediately jump into Beaujolais? Almost instantly, right?
Well, no, didn't they start doing it after Beechworth made Gamay famous?
Beechworth hasn't made Gamay famous yet.
Mate, the best Gamay in the world comes from Beechworth. And a big, quick g'day to Adelaide Hills Distillery. He's jumped in on the Instagram there. Congratulations on Native Grain 2020 being released last week, I believe, while my head was in the sand. We've thoroughly enjoyed 2019. I'm looking forward to 2020 as well. I just wanted to jump in quickly there. So their take on Gamay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, all estate grown fruit, which you get like. I kept going back to this tonight, but it's really impressive to see two, younger producers go out on their own, start their own sort of winemaking venture, commit to only estate-grown fruit, plant varieties like Gamay. They've also got Riesling, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay as well up that way, and smash it straight out of the gate. Like we had and drank the 17 quite avidly, and seen the 18 now come into its own, and it doesn't go in the direction of like those hardcore fruit bombs that Gamay can sort of be perceived for, and which we'll happily drink from time to time. But
happily drink.
But it's got like this level of complexity, this dark spice, this brooding fruit thing towards it, which I think comes from not going 100% carbonic on the thing, but actually dialing it back a bit, adding in a few different layers there.
It's very grounded.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't necessarily call it earthy. It's not like a Nero d'Avola or anything like that. But there's that element of groundedness to it. It's one of those wines that has been growing from the ground.
Yeah. And then it's not super old vines or anything like that. But I find this region really fascinating, seeing how they go from I think 18 they said they were picking 3 weeks earlier than 17 on white and red, which I thought was super interesting because of the really, really cold winters compared to the quite high temperature summers as well. We'll say big g'day to Ash Ratcliffe at Ricatera Farms as well. One of the masters of alternate varieties down that way, and brings some pretty incredible stuff to our shelves.
I love an alternate varietal.
Yeah.
In fact,
some Touriga Nacional. Some Tokai.
I got a message that the final of the Chalmers Projects set was finished last night, and it was a complete winner's range.
Yeah, right.
I love alternative varietals. I think they're bloody great. I mean, even Gamay to an extent 10 years ago was considered alternate in Australia.
I think it's still alternate today.
Yeah,
to be fair. Yeah. I would go as far as saying like Gamay is not an everyday varietal for us here. Maybe for us here at the Oak Barrel, but not necessarily for. It's definitely not in the realm of a Shiraz or Cabernet or Pinot Noir or something like that.
I think Gamay's my blood type.
Yeah.
I just drink Pinot Noir to top up the Gamay.
Yeah.
I had a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Talk to me about carbonic.
Carbonic maceration is essentially, I'm definitely not an expert on fermentation or anything like that. But
This should be good then.
Carbonic maceration basically applies to the idea of fermenting the sugars in a grape without necessarily pressing it. So standard fermentation involves pressing the grapes, releasing the juice, the yeast, whether it's added or it's native yeast, comes in and then ferments the sugar in that juice. When we're talking about carbonic, we're talking about the yeast actually getting not crushing the grapes. So you still have sugar and liquid inside the grapes, but the yeast is penetrating the grapes and fermenting that sugar inside of the grape, which essentially decreases the amount of contact that juice has with the skin of the grape, and skin is where we find flavour and tannin. So therefore you end up with still flavour but not as much tannin grip in there. So that's where Gamay and especially Beaujolais as such, which has popularised carbonic maceration, gets that really lovely, juicy, light, fresh red berry without necessarily the big tannic undertone. Gamay still being a relatively light-skinned varietal, but you're not trying to push the tannin out of the skin in carbonic maceration.
Tannin's so 80s. It's
Yeah.
done. It's over. I'm calling it. Tannin's done.
But yeah, you're basically you're attempting to ferment the juice inside of the grape, or lessening the amount of contact the skin has with the juices.
I think I have some questions on Instagram. Before I let you play with the kids, quick g'day to Phil Brooks and also Fiona Beasley, who was commenting that we're fibbing when I say that nothing can go wrong in a comeback. So yes, that's fair enough. I know you're a big fan of the bourbons at the moment. We're going to talk about bourbon in some little way, shape or form. But I think there was a question on the old young kids mobile.
Yeah, I've had a few. The boys from Whiskey Wine and Hustle have joined in. Massive g'day to those guys doing some pretty amazing things over on their Instagram channel, and I think we might have some interesting stuff lined up in the future that I won't scream and shout about yet, but it's going to be fun. The Wine About says it needs to be an everyday varietal. It absolutely does, and it can be. And honestly, sometimes I feel like the more that we talk about things and tell people how great they are, we're letting out little bits of this secret.
Yeah. You can make this happen. Gamay can resist.
It wasn't that long ago where we were drinking, pretty good Beaujolais for $30, $40 a bottle. You can still do that, but now some of the top Beaujolais will run you close to 100 pretty easily, especially Cru Beaujolais. And Ash asks, what's your favourite cask wine?
Very good question. About 6 years ago, I actually did this experiment because I was spending
Experiment?
Well, yeah, it's an experiment. I spent a bit more time at home, and I went through, as much cask wine as I could get my hand on, but the sort of the higher end of cask wine to see what was quite good. And it was a Chardonnay, a no oak Chardonnay, Aussie Chardonnay that came from Wine of Australia. That one, could I tell you the producer? No, I can't tell you the producer. I can't tell you who won that competition, but I had a lot of fun doing it.
Could you classify Jared Dixon's Bagnums as cask wine?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'd probably take Jared's Pinot from New England in the form of a 1.5 litre Bagnum.
That's a bag of wine.
It's supposed to last 5 weeks in the fridge. It definitely doesn't.
No.
I've proven that wrong many a time.
You need to go on a 6 weeks holiday away from your
and being
home.
that I drank it, I'm sure it does last 5 weeks in the fridge. But
I think that just to stay on here, we'll get on to In Good Spirits in a second, but I think the cask wine thing, it's got that negative, connotations, that whole, that horrible word that I'm not going to say that starts with a G. But cask wine is like the wine of my parents. And when you were on holidays or somewhere, you don't have a footy, you drink the cask wine, blow the bladder up, that's your footy for the afternoon, kick it around, you end up not quite getting to where you were meant to get to sleep, so you got to sleep under the stars. Yeah. That's your pillow.
Yeah.
I think, bring back the cask wine. I think it's Australian, it tells our story, it's part of our wine history.
Yeah.
And we should not forget that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, obviously, I spent a little bit of time travelling around Europe and working and that kind of thing, and you might speak to people from Spain or Italy or France or even parts of the UK, and they have memories of, drinking wine in the vineyards and wines of excellent vintages and, some of the top bottles. Being an Australian and trying to describe that to, European people, a little bit trickier. About how you might be drinking one on the side of the road in the rural Queensland area in hope that a taxi might give you a free ride back to your mate's place.
I've just seen on your forum DJ come up and mention the word that I was restraining from using because it's cask wine.
Well, no,
how do we ban that person? Is that possible? Can we do that on here?
So,
how do I ban that person?
DJ Nick was actually attending Intro to Burgundy the other week, where we delved into some great stuff. It's not Burgundy, but it's not far from it. Technically, we're drinking Gamay. We were drinking Pinot before as well. Gamay, obviously, the bastardized grape of Burgundy in the 1300s, which was banned for being too high yielding and inferior and poisonous to the Burgundian people in the 1300s, which I'm very glad to see it making a comeback thanks to the notorious Gang of Four in the 1980s. Marcel Lapierre, Jean Foyard, Jean-Paul Thanavat, Guy Breton, and now their understudies, Pierre Corton, a bunch of Anthony Thanavat coming back through and making Beaujolais and Gamay something absolutely delightful to drink.
What do you think
they're all quite expensive?
What do you think they're all doing now, apart from thinking about us?
I mean, it's almost it's similar like to here in Australia where we have very popular wine producers, some of our good friends that we deal with, and we just think, wow, these guys are amazing, they're rock stars. We can't get enough of their wine. It's all on allocation, blah blah blah, all the rest. They must be living in mansions and drive around in Ferraris and all that sort of thing. But I mean, when Pierre was here, a couple of years ago, I just think he wants to be on his farm with a sheep, drinking magnums of Gamay and eating food and doing all the rest. There's none of this fancy business really when it comes to well-made, handcrafted wine.
No,
so marketing guys are getting rich. We're not getting rich.
Indie Good Spirits, we will be getting to the agave probably after this drink. Thought we needed some warming up.
Yeah, and Ash says big opportunity for funky producers. I'm totally not against the idea of wine in a bag. Or in a box, be it. At the end of the day, and just dialing back on your point of a lot of us grew up with boxed wine and it'd be like picnics and all that sort of thing. But if you drink it and you like it, we didn't grow up.
We were there. We weren't drinking this wine at this point in time.
Yeah.
We were watching our parents responsibly consume wine from a bladder in a box while we were. And we benefited from kicking up the blown bladder as a football afterwards.
Yeah.
Is what Joe meant to say.
Pretty much, exactly that. But hell, if you drink it and you like it and it's wine, good on you. Who cares where it comes from?
Yeah, bloody oath. Yeah. I was going to ask a question and have forgotten about what that question was.
That's all right.
That's right.
I quite like this.
Yeah, so we're in the Macedon Ranges, is that where we are?
Yeah, high up, 550 metres above sea level in the Macedon Ranges. Second release of their Gamay, all estate grown fruit as well, which I still can't It's such a not a risk, but it's such an endeavour to start out on producing wine. To start out, get your own vineyards, start producing wine. With only your own fruit and just put it to masses, and it's bloody awesome. I really like it.
So again, I've read a label, which is my expertise in wine. Is pretty much limited to reading labels.
Yeah.
The clone varietal on this is BGW19. Which, Joey, can you please tell me the entire extensive, exhaustive history of that clone type?
Well, it dates back to 1459. Where no, not as good on.
Fucking hell! I thought you were going to get it then.
Not as good as on Gamay clones as I'm not good on Pinot clones either. I'm a little bit more familiar with Pinot and Cabernet clones, but not so much Gamay clones. Sue me.
I do love a clone type on the back of a bottle of wine. And we've spoken a lot about labelling, and I have recently drunk a lot of wines that are not particularly that are quite good. Australian wines that are quite good, but for some reason or another, almost a little bit embarrassed about where they come from because they're a region or a town that is not acknowledged as a typical wine producing region or town, and so they try and hide the fact, and then their labels end up being quite bland and there's not a lot of information on the back, and you just looks on the shelf like a XYZ Lindeman's Jacobs Creek sort of wine when it's come from a specific farm. So, okay, well, guys, but if you don't want to talk about that particular, talk about the soil, talk about the clone varietal. I'm a big fan. I think it should be law that clone varietals should be listed on the back of grape bottles.
Yeah. I would like to see every ingredient that's been put into the wine listed on the side of the label. I think that would be awesome. Anything that's added should be listed there. But one day, who knows?
Let's get QR codes on the back, just like we do it in whiskey. Just like we do it. We're well ahead in whiskey.
Hey, I've QR codes on mine. The Frank Cornelissen wines have their own QR codes.
Oh, yeah, and what does that tell you?
I don't know. It's good.
Bloody good. Yes, glad they went to all that trouble then. Hey, but yes, mate, you've kicked off well because you've gone from Pinot Noir to Gamay, two of my favourite grape varietals in the world. To come back to, which is bloody genius. I think this is very this is a very, very solid wine. My only issue potentially here is Lion's Will. There's no apostrophe in the Lions, either in between the N and the S or after the S?
So I believe it was the name of one of Renata's grandparents. I had in my notes earlier.
So the last name was Lion or Lions?
Lions.
Okay, so there should still be an apostrophe after Lions to imply ownership, to give it that was his or her will.
Yeah, but no one cares.
Yeah, okay. But I just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to make sure that was... And if that's...
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, no, so they're both grandparents. So Lions was a grandparent. Wills was a grandparent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's Lion's will.
Yeah.
Okay, not Lions, like will as in this is what I want.
No,
it's
no,
the two names.
No,
okay, that makes sense
yeah.
then. Stand down your troops, it's okay.
It's
And
also a bloody beautiful label.
I was going to say, if that's the only fault I can find in this wine, we're doing okay.
Yeah, so I think it was Renata's grandparents' last name was Lions, and then Ollie's was Will or Wills or Willis, one of them. Yeah. So it's going to that. And it just so happens to read like Lions Will, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah. Two wines that structurally are quite similar, but flavour are very, very different. And they actually, the more you drink them, the more you actually pick out differences. This is an 18, so this is, in store now. How do you think this will go? Because I'm drinking this going, this is pretty good now, but I reckon in 5 years, this could be quite phenomenal.
Yeah, so we were having that conversation earlier and basically touching on the fact that there isn't, like, to make wines that age, that certain people will use different winemaking techniques. See, this isn't a full carbonic macerated wine, which is focusing purely on fruit character, not necessarily looking to extract tannin or focus on the acid or anything like that. If it was, that would be a drink now sort of wine. That's sort of like Beaujolais Nouveau, if you will, style. This is sort of a half and half, but I mean, whilst I really, really love this wine and I'm super enjoying it now, I do think it'll probably look to improve in the next year or two. Probably not something I'm laying down for 10, 15 years though. Just whilst there's structure and there's a lot of fruit character, I think it's just meant to be loved.
Meant to be enjoyed.
Cracked open and loved, yeah. The other thing that I thought was really fun was that, so the first time I met the guys from Lionsville, we had a conversation about how Sean from Dapple, the first pinot that we talked,
which is not Dappled City's Fly. It's a different, for all you people of my vintage from Sydney, it's actually a vineyard.
Actually helps them quite a lot, or not helps them, but like they consult to him quite a lot in their winemaking. They're just up the road, and I believe that they worked together for about 3 years before starting Lionsville, just on focusing on Pinot and Chardonnay and that sort of thing. So it's always really fun drinking these wines side by side, and I think of their like fun little friendship and.
Quick question, retail price. No, we haven't actually said retail price on this one.
I think it's 42 on the shelf.
Okay.
So
so about 35 for members when you buy enough and get your members discount, which is...
Sort of like that, yeah. It's around that $40 mark, basically, which I think is pretty spot on for a wine like this. And it just is a really, really awesome expression of cool climate Gamay in Australia, which we're not stumbling across every day.
How much do you reckon it would cost for me to get Cool Climate Gamay tattooed on my back?
I mean, I'd do it for $50.
But like, do you have enough ink? And like,
you got heaps of ink.
I mean, but like, do you have okay? I've got the ink. Do you have the, something that's gonna stab at me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Done.
Sorry.
This time next week, I'll have that tattoo on my back. I'll also probably be dead.
Well, actually, we did pick up last week. Or the week before, we might have picked up the wines from Louis Terral, which you might have missed. But he is another young gun, actually producing wine in Burgundy, in France near Savoie, near the mountains there. Burgundy is known for like really, really high quality sparkling rosé and sparkling wine. He's making some incredible, really small batch. Alpine Gamay is how I'm referring to it at the moment. It's just outstanding. Yeah.
Gamay. Okay.
Louis Terral, absolutely outstanding producer. Been drinking a lot of his wine.
Okay. Yep. No, I'm going to play that. When you said bougie, I was going to be a little bit worried about exactly where we're going to go with that.
Bugey.
Yep. Okay.
Thank
you.
Small little region, but yeah, he's kicking goals.
I was about to cut the streaming because we start using language like that, we're done. We're out. Beautiful. Is it time that we got into something distilled? something that's seen the inside of a big copper kettle?
Yeah, well, I think I saw these arrive when you were away, so I've been waiting out to try these.
While I'm getting this ready, which is not going to take very long because I don't know what I'm doing, what are you drinking beer-wise?
So obviously not straying too far from home here. I might have done this already, but this is Bruty Full Haze. Again, beer puns. A New England IPA from Deep Creek, which I believe is an Auckland mob. Silverdale, yeah, sorry. My hometown.
Really?
Yeah. Don't act like you don't know that.
No, but I didn't know I didn't know Silverdale was your hometown.
Oh no, Auckland's my hometown. I'm from Takapuna. Lots of pictures of citrus and pawpaw and all that sort of thing on it. Like, just, yeah. I don't know. I like a lot of what like Garage Project's doing at the moment. Deep Creek are bringing a bunch of stuff over. Chur. Some really, really fun Kiwi breweries. You know, hopefully giving the Aussie guys a run for their money.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's line this up. And I'm not sure if you can see this on the Facebook. But we are going to, part of what After Hours is, it's essentially a very simple concept. Store's closed. Close the doors. No one's allowed to come in apart from the people that are already in here. This is the time that myself, Joey, and other members of the staff will get around, have a chat, may open some of the samples that we've been sent, talk about, you know, what we're going to get in for next week, next month, all this sort of thing. And we're sort of letting you guys in to that sort of experience, what we do after hours. And a lot of what we do is drinking, and a lot of what we do is obviously drinking, as I mentioned, these samples. So tonight we've got a few samples from a distillery in New South Wales, in northern New South Wales, that we've mentioned a couple of times in passing here on the stream. I've also mentioned quite heavily in passing at the tastings I do out in Dubbo, called Black Snake. So I'll just see if you can see all these things. You can probably see it better on this sample here. Black Snake Distillery. And what the Black Snake Distillery distill is agave. And I think we bloody love agave. And agave distilled spirits are very popular around the world. Agave is a plant. It's quite a dramatic, exciting looking plant. It flowers, it grows very aggressively out with, you know, big leaves, and then when it flowers, and it can flower from sort of like 6 to 9 years in, this big shoot comes up, and then it dies, which is very, very sad for the agave plant. But if you can get it early enough, you can harvest the heart of the piña of the agave. And in countries like Mexico, for example, they call that spirit mezcal, or if you make it in a region around tequila, they call it tequila. So we grow a lot of agave in Australia. All you need to do is travel into regional areas, particularly for me personally, sort of across near the Murray, the Victorian New South Wales border, but then sort of inland and up towards Mildura and sort of, like 50, 100 k's south, not necessarily so much New South Wales side, but more Victorian side. You see a lot of wild growing agave, and we do have the Black Snake Distillery, who are up in Narrabri, who have, I think from about 2016, been harvesting and distilling agave to make spirit out of it. I believe the story is that a daughter went to Mexico, came back and said, hey, I've seen these, we can do something with these. So, distillers out there, send your daughters to Mexico. I'm sure they'll enjoy that. But this is very exciting, because we have long threatened in this country to make an agave spirit. I have been at conferences in various spirit conferences around the country where people have spoken about things, mezcal-esque spirits distilled from Australian-grown agave in Australia. One was horrifically called Ozcal, which was certainly going to happen. Apparently it did happen, it just didn't happen in Australia. And I can't speak for that.
Brutal.
That was one of those conference seminars where you're sitting there and you're taking notes for the first 30 seconds, then you go, nah, this shit's never going to happen. That's dreaming. But in the background, working away, was the Black Snake Distillery. So they did their launch at one of our favourite Sydney bars, Dulce's, in King's Cross. A year ago, I believe it was October, on a Sunday, and I couldn't attend that particular launch because there was quite a big sporting event on the same day that I had to sit on my couch and watch TV for, so I couldn't make it, but I actually got my first taste of this, or their products, when I was out in Dubbo doing a tequila tasting for the fantastic establishment bar in Dubbo, right near the old Dubbo jail there, and I brought out these tequilas and mezcals, and they had a bottle of Black Snake and said, "Hey, do you want to do this at the end?" And I said, "So bloody oath, let's do it." And that was my first impression of it, but I sort of had it and tasted it while I was doing a tasting, so I didn't get a lot of a chance to sit down with it. But I believe Rosemary and Stephen from Black Snake were unfortunate enough to stumble on this live stream a month ago or so, and have sent us some samples to try, which are moving on from where they started. And there's a few other things that have gone on. They're forever refining the process and production. So we have 3 samples here today. One's called, it's got a yellow sticker on it, it's called 11. Another one's got a yellow sticker, this time on the top, it's called 33. And another one has another yellow sticker called Distillery Batch. And now, I did have some conversations on the phone with Rosemary about what these meant, and I've forgotten exactly what all of these meant. So I have no idea what we're going to try today. We haven't tried them before, but this is also what we like to do on After Hours, because we're trying for the first time. Yeah. Our reactions are going to be the honest ones. But they're all blancos essentially, but something that we're going to talk about in a second is talk about aging spirit in like stainless and that sort of thing. But I'm going to give these a quick nose to try and figure out which one we should start with to go through them. And I do think Team Blackgate is on Black Snake is on the stream saying, "Ask me," because I'm definitely going to stuff this up.
Where would we start?
Which one do you think we should start with? I think that one, 33,
G'day, my wine saver, how are you?
Goes a little bit further back. I think. Right, I reckon 1133 Distillery Batch. There's a bit going on there. Just
1133 Distillery Batch.
I reckon 1133. Do you want to pour a little bit? You get the foam. People are still trying to call 11. Oh, hey, how's that? I called it before we even started. For those playing at home on Facebook, we are live on Instagram as well, where Black Snake is talking to us. So we are going in dead blind on this stuff. But to give a bit of context, and Joe, I'll let you sit with this for a little while. I love agave spirit. I think everyone has, the word tequila brings up certain memories for certain people at their 18th birthday parties and all that sort of thing. But where we are here at the Oak Barrel, smack bang in the CBD on Elizabeth Street, you can, throw a cricket ball and you'll hit Tio's that way, one of the great tequila bars in the country. Tequila, predominantly a lot of great mezcal, but then you can also, get on your bike and ride 2 minutes that way and go to Cantina OK, which is the best mezcal bar in the country. So I think we're starting to think about mezcal differently. It's such a versatile spirit. One thing I would encourage you to do if you're interested in this sort of stuff at all is follow Black Snake on Instagram, but also follow like Cantina OK and any Mexican agave producers you can get your hands on, because just the vision that they show, whether it's in videos or photos of harvesting the agave plant and getting the piñas out is quite remarkable, and it's backbreaking work. I'm glad I'm a drinker and a talker and not a producer, because it's too hard for me, mate. But it's really fascinating, and I don't really think I can give it justice just by talking about it, because these plants are very dramatic, particularly when you see them in real life. But we've seen an uptick big in agave-based spirits, tequila and mezcal, particularly mezcal, here at the Oak Barrel in the past 3 years. And there's no reason why we can't make a really great spirit here. Now, difference between tequila and agave, very, very quickly. Tequila comes from a certain part around the town of Tequila. That dates back to very, very early days of Spanish Inquisition and Spanish colonization of that part of the world. And it just so happened that tequila was close to a very prominent port. The stuff that was labelled mezcal from tequila turned out to be highly sought after in the European world, and therefore tequila got the best name, and then that became a denomination. Mezcal is agave made from everywhere, and you can make tequila from a certain type of agave called Blue Weber. But mezcal you can make from any sort of agave. You see a lot of Espadin, you see of Mexicano, Tabala. There's hundreds of them. So I don't want to talk too much about the technical side of things because we want to just drink, I think, this as it is. And hopefully I've prattled on for long enough, Joey, for you to come up with some sort of opinion on this while I dive in.
Yeah, I've only just sort of had a nose, and I did have a cheeky nose this morning as well, actually. Just like in pure anticipation of like what this was going to be. Because I'm super excited. Really, really excited.
That nose is
like
very, very good.
Really creamy. Like
it is, yeah, but I get like there's a lot of it's not vanilla, it's something akin to vanilla, and I think it's giving me that creamy. It's trying to trick my brain into it, but it's very, very soft.
So
very
lots of
soft.
that little white pepper spice, a lot of like, I don't know. I need to try and transfer my brain out of wine describing terms because.
Well, no, just in general.
Yeah.
If it tastes like white pepper in a wine or a spirit, it's the same thing, right? Doesn't really matter.
It's like really kind of seductive on the nose. Like it seems to give enough away without giving a lot away, which is like kind of a cool element to this, I think.
One thing I have no idea about, which again I've probably been told and forgotten, is the ABV of this, of any of these samples. So Rosemary, if you're still there,
We'll take a guess before.
45% alcohol, I reckon that is.
I'm gonna go a little bit lower.
Right, you're at 42.5, 43?
I reckon around the 43 mark. Yeah.
43 mark. I reckon 45 ABVs.
40. Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
So we assume that would have been watered down to 40
Yeah.
intentionally.
And you said, yeah. Now, let's. So what do we get there?
Sounds like management talk. Don't know what that was directed at.
Yeah, fair enough.
We manage things sometimes. This is cool.
Yeah, I'm. It's very different to what I tried in January in Dubbo, which was, I think, a very early release bottle. This is far more refined. Now, when you talk about tequila versus mezcal, generally a lot of people are talking about, mezcal being the smoky, cousin of tequila. Tequila is very clean, or good tequila is very clean. A lot of the time that's because the piñas, the hearts, are roasted underground, which is the traditional way to do it, and the smoke gets into them, which is how mezcal is made. I wouldn't necessarily say this is smoky. This is very clean. It's very pure.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did this one first. Now I think this.
I just like you kind of want to fall in love with that nose a little bit.
Yeah, I think the nose is definitely the star here.
Yeah.
It's very, very. You said seductive. I think it's a bit reductive sometimes to describe noses of alcohols as intoxicating, but I think it is. Like, you cannot. Can you get drunk off just smelling alcohol? You have to smell a lot of alcohol.
You can inhale it.
Yeah. If you had to inhale a lot of it, but I think this is a very intoxicating nose. This is something I want to go back to. Very moorish.
I've just read that the Distillery batch is 45 ABV.
Okay.
And I'm quite excited to see this at a higher strength.
Yeah. Okay.
To be honest, like I think like this nose I cannot get enough of, and like it almost makes the palate a little bit moorish.
Yeah. It's very front forward.
Yeah.
The palate initially, just going back for a second sip, then is very white chocolate, like very sort of that, Milky Bar kid sort of getting his lasso out and tying you in again. A comment that's probably going to be a fly over the heads of everyone on Instagram because you're way too young to understand who the Milky Bar Kid is.
I know who the Milky Bar Kid is.
Quick segue into Facebook comment. Phil Brooks, why is the Brookletic Aussie exclusive already sold out? Because a lot of people wanted to buy the Aussie exclusive Brookletic single cask, and it's sold out in about 5 minutes, is why. I've been told I can't get any more, so Hopefully that's the last question of that tonight, because I know there's going to be a lot of phone calls about that tomorrow.
Sorry, Phil, mate. I'll sort you out on a deal on the side. Don't worry.
With what? So there's none left. It's gone. Do you want to put that to a side? I want to leave a bit in that glass.
Yeah, I think this is just spikes my interest. This.
Yeah. I want to get to a point though when we have all three still in glasses, if that's all right. Yourself?
We've only got 4 glasses here.
I've got 2 more down here.
Oh.
So we're on to 33 now. We're working in very, very small batches here in terms of what we're talking about. So 33 there, and that's the label. You can probably see from that's how it looks like in a real bottle when it's on the.
It says do 33 next, which we will.
Do 33 next. Yep, that's exactly what we're doing. So that's mine. That's yours, and this is very different.
Sorry, Instagram's just taking off now. Palmer says breathtaking ? Almost, I think I'd say it's a little bit undescribable on the nose, that first one, because every time you think you've got something, it goes in a different direction, which I think is super cool, really really fun. Ian Barr says I used to look like the Milky Bar kid.
What do you mean you used to?
I think he still looks like the Milky Bar kid.
Yeah, I mean the Milky Bar kid didn't get old as well.
He's got the personality of the Milky Bar kid. Just chirpy
I would like to see Ian Barr with a lasso.
Yeah,
I think that's quite good.
fun.
Just on that first note you went back, I went back again. It had that real menthol cooling note, which I've seen in some whiskies sometimes and absolutely love.
Yeah, and then we just saw the word eucalypt pop up, which I love to use as well, especially in mezcal descriptions. But I don't know, it's just like that's trying to put that finger on it, sort of thing. It's awesome. But yeah, white chocolate I thought was a cool addition.
Yeah, but on the palate.
Yeah.
Really. Are you on number 1 or 2 now?
That's mine.
Yeah, I'm going to compare. Because
So
number
this
2 is
smokier, ramped up a bit.
This is very different. And this is, I think, this is more if you wanted to put something in front of someone who's a big mezcal fan, and you went, okay, we do this thing in Australia, and they go, okay, what would you show me? You go this one first. You know, this is a bit of a gateway based off on the nose purely.
Fuck, that's awesome.
Joey, don't swear. There's no need to swear.
We're not getting paid on this.
It's 2020, mate. There's no need to swear. Says he who had already sworn quite a few times already this stream.
We got a bit of a slap on the wrist the other week, actually.
Yeah. The same sort of elements. It's still very soft. That nose is very, it's very rounded.
It's way more in that vegetal tone, which I adore.
You reckon?
I'm getting like that super ripe bell pepper, and that almost like banana leaf. Like a little bit of tobacco tone.
I get the leafy, yeah, definitely leafy.
Fuck, this is so good.
There's, what is it? It's almost like ground mint.
Yeah, and it's
but like with a mortar and pestle, and the pestle's broken off, and so it's like got that granity note in it as well.
I was gonna say it's super intense without being super intense.
Yeah. Oof, yeah, there's a lot going on there. This is part of the live TV. You know, the bad thing about tasting things for the first time on live TV is you want to spend as much time with possible, and live TV demands you fill every 2 seconds with some sort of gibberish. Nose is yes. That's a yes for the nose. More spice. I think if you were going like green peppers on the nose, it's red pepper on the palate finish.
Yeah. There's a bit more of that bacony chorizo thing on the palate too.
Yeah. But like
salted.
salted.
Cool. Yeah.
Like sort of like sea salt salted chorizo or some sort of cold meat thing. I think
I will say though, like on that note, like these are probably the first two, agave-based spirits that I've sat down and sipped, and happily enjoyed both of them in a long time.
I was about to say something very very similar, which was these are probably the first when we were talking about batch 11 and 33. you talk about Mexico and mezcal. They've been doing that for a little while. They have more than 33 batches up their sleeve. What I'm quite impressed about here in both of these, which we certainly didn't see going back 15 years ago with whiskey, and we didn't see 5-10 years ago with rum, is just absolute competency with the distillation. There are no sharp edges on this spirit, and we're talking about Blanco spirits, and you can leave them in tanks, and I want to talk about that a little bit because, you know, I do believe even in stainless steel aging adds things to spirits, and certainly I think you see it more often in agave spirits than anything else. But there's no oak aging to hide in. There's no oak. No, we cannot talk about that. Who is this person? Can we ban them? I'm sure they're a nice bloke, but...
No. I'll tell you everything on the side, don't worry.
Beautiful. But this, you know, there's no sharp edges in this spirit. That you can tell that the heart cut has been made in a right spot. Do I think, again, there's probably scope to give this a little bit more finish? Probably. I think it's very front forward, but I think it's excellent. Completely different, coming out of the same distillery.
Yeah.
Harvested from probably different places. And speaking of oak, I did notice that 4 days ago, there's a couple of ex-bourbon barrels that might have been filled with some spirit to go into things we call like Reposado and that sort of thing.
Big fan of this. I really like it a lot.
Going back to the nose, I get more of that like fresh cut herb. Vegetal. Yeah, lots of vegetal, but also I keep thinking about the first one as well when we did Crafty's releases a few weeks ago, and I think obviously as we scaled up, they got a little bit more intense, a little bit more interesting, and all the rest of it. But I kept finding myself going back towards the entry level, if you will, because that's what I want to take to my friend's house and share with them. I want to take, this to my mate's place, and I want to put a good dent in a bottle in a night, because I have friends that probably don't drink mezcal or anything like that. That is so approachable, but also really expresses it super well. Yeah.
And the second one it just kicks it up a gear. It's there's still that same sort of characteristic line through everything, but it just seems to turn it up a little bit of a notch, which I think is a hallmark of a pretty good distillery.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point you make, and to turn it up it's easy to turn up by just adding more alcohol.
Yeah, but you need to keep your character.
Yeah, but turning up flavours without turning up, the obvious things is, quite a difficult thing to do. Pick from the distiller themselves, either
What's
one or
this
both.
One called?
So I don't know whether Black Snake are talking about 33 or about distillery batch. But the comment was, this is my favourite, I like the finish and the smokiness, so I think it's probably 33 that they're talking about there. But we are getting into distillery batch and doing this on purpose, going through them quite quickly so that we can have all three lined up together. 33, I mean, yep, beautiful, thank you.
Yeah, 33 was banging.
Ooh.
I liked it a lot.
Oh, I got some notes on that. So on to distillery batch, which... by the way, we don't have any of these in store just yet, but you can buy any Black Snake, I don't know what you call them, agave spirits. I don't know, I hate the term Oscal, let's call them an Australian agave spirit, which I think is what ASP stands for, funnily enough. But just before we do that, we're about to run out on the Instagram. We've got about 45 seconds remaining before we take over, so we're going to nose this, write some tasting notes before we jump back up. But I got something that jumped out straight away for me on this.
I've got something as well, and you're not going to like it.
Beautiful. But if you're still here, you're not going to come back. All of these, there's definitely available ASP on the Black Snake website. They've got a web store direct through them. And while we love it when you buy juice from us, and we very much appreciate that, this is a very good time to be supporting regional areas and regional distillers and winemakers and producers of milk and ice cream and everything. We'll be back in a second. Facebook, we're staying with you. I feel like we're doing the whole... And the East Coast, if you want to keep watching the game, Channel 9 News is coming on now. Switch to...
So we are.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing there. For those playing on the Facebook, it's sun-dried tomatoes.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, don't. How do I get that? Shade of that we go there. That's good enough. Really but ground to quite a fine level. I need to do this, I think. What were you going to say?
IPA. Like really heavily hopped IPA beer. Yeah. This was like when you like. Obviously, I drink. I don't drink heaps of beer. I don't consider myself a beer enthusiast or anything like that. Like a lot of it's done via wine for me. But every now and then, like I enjoy going to craft beer bars and trying out the new this and that and the other. And immediately on your nose, this just kind of like, I just thought, whoa, like hardcore, heavily hopped West Coast IPA. But now that you say sun-dried tomatoes, I can really relate to that as well.
I've forgotten how to do this.
You gotta go back to the main page, the home page.
Go back to the main page.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I do apologise, folks. Question on Facebook. Best thing I've ever done with Black Snake, filled up on a slushy with it. It was a very good night.
Sounds like fun.
That is a very good night, actually. Like, I wasn't there, but it sounds like a very good night. Aidan, if you've got if you remember, I mean, you probably don't remember what it was, but if you remember which batch that was, I'd love to hear what batch that was. As we go back live on Instagram and the 18-year-olds keep coming through. Lovely to see you again. Basically, if you were listening to us on Instagram previously and have just come back on for part 2 of After Hours episode 27, or XXVII, as the Romans would have called it, all we've discussed is making slushies out of Black Snake agave, Australian agave spirit.
But also the people that on Instagram that did miss out was we probably threw one word each at one another, or one descriptor each on the what's it called again? Distillery batch from
I was trying to hope to see, before we talk about that actual Black Snake come back in, because I think they'd be interested in that sort of carry on.
Yeah, we'll wait then.
That's all right.
We're watching.
Yeah. I'm interested to see, and just throwing a question to the crowd, who is still if you're interested in spirits or wine or something, but still thinks that tequila and mezcal or agave spirits is a bit of a hurdle, so to speak. A bit of a road, a paddock too far. I'd be very interested to see. That's a question I'll throw out there for people to have a bit of a chat to or about. But we're now on Facebook. Rosemary's back on Facebook. Beautiful. Good to see that. So we're going to pick up exactly what we were just saying before. Apologies for repeating ourselves, but what I got when I first picked this up was sun-dried tomatoes. But not any sun-dried tomatoes. When I was a kid, my parents would go with some family friends of ours to the Hunter Valley every year. Being about 10 years old, there was not a lot for me to do in the Hunter Valley apart from all the food elements. And there was one particular winery whose name I'm sorry I forget, but used to make an olive pate. And then one year we went back and they made a sun-dried tomato Tokai mix. And it was unbelievable. And I lived off that stuff for about a year. So that for me was just that luscious, and I love tomato. I love the flavour. I hate the texture of tomato.
Yeah.
I think it dates back to primary school, and Mum makes you a sandwich, puts tomato in it, wrap it in Glad wrap, and everything is sodden and just soggy by the time it gets to lunch. I hate the texture of tomato. Love it, but let me add it on at the time. So sun-dried tomatoes, beautiful. There's no moisture left in them. Taste exactly how they're meant to. So that sort of sun-dried, really great tomato was for me. Joe, you said?
So it was just immediately going in on the nose. I think I might have even been a few inches away before I got there, but it just gives me that really reminiscent aroma of heavily hopped West Coast IPAs. That really there's a word that I definitely don't want to use, but
use it. Go on.
This.
Go on.
You like those dank, that really dank IPA smell?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So last year I spent a couple of months on the west coast of California, Well, that's the only coast of California. On the coast of California.
So how was the Californian Dungeons and Dragons Society?
Where we drank a lot of West Coast IPAs, and immediately I just that just transferred to my mind. But like the palate is something else, far out.
Yeah. I think we're going from 40% to 45, so it's not a big jump, but it is. It's noticeable. It just carries that, and you don't want to say a word that I don't want to say because it has bad connotations, but that fire. But that's why I love great mezcals, is because they take this obscure, I'm going to say the word again, dramatically looking plant that grows from the ground. They take the heart of it, put into a spirit, and it gives you that fire, that essence, the bit that beats inside your heart in the spirit. And I feel like I'm getting this first and foremost. It's certainly the funkiest out of the three.
It's by hands down my favorite. Like it's just it's so much fun.
33 is pretty good though.
33 was pretty good, but like this is an absolute roller coaster.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's probably more going on here. Maybe I like 33 because I think it's probably the most complete out of the lot.
But like, I know, especially like even in the mezcal, like the cheaper end of stuff that we see here in Australia, you get that like you feel that burn, that sensation that you kind of attribute to mezcal a little bit, which sort of hits you like here, but like it doesn't have it. It's ultra smooth, but it's still got so much going on, which is really fun.
Can you read that question?
Yeah. So Black Snake says, "I'll talk about why we say it at 40, but my Pechuga is 46.8."
Is there a way to invite them onto this stream?
Maybe.
Rosemary, I'm going to throw you completely under the bus here.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
But if you got a camera in front of you...
Facebook can't play.
Facebook can't play, but Instagram can potentially play. And if my phone's loud enough, they might hear you through here, but that's not going to happen. But that's all right. But yeah, Andrew Smith, 33 for the win. Yeah, I didn't know we were playing at home along with this one, but that's bloody genius. Yeah, great. I think certainly the 33 is very, very tasty. In fact, Rosemary, I'll just cancel that for a second while we keep talking about this.
This is insane. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
The nose is like the palate's like bizarre. The palate is like silky. It's creamy. It's got a lot of that really soft yellow fruit, like not quite vegetal at all.
It's kind of like mashed mango,
but like long, soft fruit, which is unreal.
Yeah. That is certainly the most complex of the lot. Now, I'm going to go back before the palate gets absolutely slaughtered to 33 and 11. I mean, and there's always an issue. There's always something has to go first. Some poor bastard has to be the first one off the rack, and number 11 was that tonight.
But see, like I'm taking 11 to show my friends what good Aussie agave spirit can taste like.
Yeah.
I'm not taking my friends' distillery batch because I'll freak out.
I'm taking some of my friends' distillery batch. Yeah. I think I'm going to start with 33. I think.
Yeah.
Just like, again, maybe it's my can I sell this hat on? I think that would sell the most. If we had all three of these on the shelf at the exact same price, obviously they wouldn't be at the same price because the distillery batch is a little bit higher in ABV. It attracts more tax. There's all sorts of things.
Yeah. So Black Sea comes through and says, "Sorry, not sure how to join. We stayed at 40, believing people who didn't know mezcal might be first, which is like that's spot on. Yeah. Nailed it.
Not only do we need a little bit more education about drinking mezcal in this country, the concept of Australian agave spirit is not only, foreign. It's non-existent.
Yeah.
So, and I think, all of us should tip the hat to Black Snake for really making a go of it, but doing it in the correct way, farming it properly, doing it in a proper way to get a good spirit rather than going for a market grab. And
do you feel as though there's maybe an opportunity here in Australia to like have that fresh slate of if we're going to do a agave spirit, let's do it really well before it goes down the route of what tequila went down, where it got cheap and nasty and, bastardized the name of it all. If we were to do agave really, really well from the start, it could, get quite a reputation for itself.
Yeah, 100%. And it's actually a very good point because you look at rum.
Yeah.
Rum, we've distilled a lot of rum, basically we've distilled rum since the day, Europeans landed and colonised Australia. But there's some excellent rum being made in Australia right now, but there's a negative connotation about rum. You go up and ask someone about, hey man, have you had any ASP? They're going to go, what the hell are you talking about? Which is a curse, but it's also potentially a blessing.
Yeah.
Because there's no necessarily positive connotations, but there's no negative connotations either that are going to come with it. It's like, oh yeah, I'll drink Australian ASP, I'm just going to mix it with rum. No, I think there's a real opportunity there. I don't necessarily think every distillery should rush out and try and get some agave, because it's bloody hard work, and I think you need to focus on it. You see it in other spirits. The best whiskey distilleries in Australia, what do? Whiskey. Yeah. What do the best gin distilleries in Australia make? Gin and nothing else. The best rum distilleries in Australia make rum and nothing else. Yeah. So if you focus your attentions to one thing, I think that's probably the best way to go about it. But yeah, I think from what we've seen today, and we're talking about like batch 11, we're talking about the very earliest batches, and you should always assume, we see it particularly in whiskey a lot, it pisses me off, batch one at an exorbitantly high price because it's a collector's item. Yes, it probably is, and you're never going to have another batch one. Should also be the worst spirit you ever make because you're only going to get better. When was the last time you saw a winemaker release barrel one, like harvest one? It's like, no, I'm going to get better every time, and it's going to get better.
We have vintages in wine, so it's pretty easy. But
yeah, true.
But I also think like there's certainly an element to a spirit like this, which you mightn't necessarily be successful without the cocktail route, especially with agave spirit.
Yeah.
Would you not say? Like, I think that, I mean, I can see all of these working in a variety of cocktails, and there might be that careful balance of going down that, we can do well in cocktails, but also it's pretty good on its own sort of route.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think either one of these you'd be happy to sit by itself. I think potentially 11, going back to it, and again coming off 45%, going back down to 40, potentially benefit from a bit of a longer finish, whether that's a couple of extra percentage, a little bit longer sitting in stainless to pull it out. I don't know. I'm not a distiller. I don't know how this stuff works. I'm just a drinker. But I just saw a comment from someone whose name I can't pronounce because I can't see because I'm old and the text is too small. The effort put into the spirit counts, and that is 100% what we want to get across here, because you can tell that none of these spirits are badly made spirits. We've drunk between us a lot of badly made Australian spirits across the whole category, and yes, early doors of certain categories, but also in the past, up until a month ago, of spirits that have been made on the cheap or been rushed, and these are not badly made spirits. They're very, very good, I'd say exceptionally well made spirits, just in their softness. The only fault I could potentially give for 11 is that sort of being a bit front forward, but that's just that's an aging thing, or that's an agave thing. That's not too much you can do in your cuts for that and that sort of thing.
To be fair, I actually didn't mind. Like I got the first one a lot. To be like, that front forward spirit doesn't necessarily make it a bad spirit. I just think it makes it not to our palates or to your palate specifically, but it's definitely got a place in the market.
There's about 60 Australian whiskey distilleries with, whiskey on the market or close to whiskey on the market. I can name about 3 of them that have whiskies that honestly have good finishes to them. Yeah. Some of these whiskey bottles are going for $500 plus. So it's something that a young industry will need to grow on, but it takes hundreds of years to develop these tried and true methods. Obviously, it's going to happen a little bit quicker these days, but I say it because we're hypercritical of these things. I mean, I know again, I'm not allowed to run a agave-based tasting at the oak barrel because I know Happy Gilmore from Tio's and Cantina and Cliff Dive and that group is probably going to be within about 2 kilometres radius of us, the most knowledgeable person about agave I've ever met, and to be honest, probably in the top 3 in Australia, most knowledgeable people about spirits in general. So I can't do it while he's around because I'm going to be a schmuck. I know for a fact he's a big fan of these. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. So basically, we've spoken for about an hour on this. Ignore it. We could have just said Happy likes it, so that's good enough. Should be good enough for everyone.
Cracking it.
We've got a little bit left in all of these glasses, these sample bottles. So thank you again to Rosemary and Steve for sending these down to us. We appreciate, and certainly because I don't have a lot to bottle to give away.
I can imagine.
Really appreciate it. We're going to sit down with these a little bit longer and write some more notes on it and get back to you. But very, very, very impressive. Very impressive. I think for me, 33 is my winner.
Yeah, so Distillery batch is for sure. Just on the nose before I even tasted it. This thing is unreal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like for those spirit drinkers that really want an experience like myself, it's gotten to the point now where a lot of the whiskey that you would offer to me gets kind of boring. Like this is awesome, really, really cool, and drinkable and enjoyable.
I'm just going to write the word Claren down here so I can talk about that in a little while.
Claren's fun.
It's like this is going that way. It's very wild. It's very I don't know its production, but we're talking about like wild yeast, like obscure strains. In Claren's case, it's obscure strains of sugarcane. In this case, it's agave, that sort of thing. But yeah, so if you're interested, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. Or you can just go into your friendly Google, type Black Snake Distillery. They're selling bottles directly through their website at the moment. We will look to have some stuff stocked here. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like and what's that priced at just at the moment, but eventually we'll get it on the shelves here, and I'm sure you will see it at Dulce's and Tio's and Cantina and all these places once Dulce's and Cantina and all these places will have to open up again and have some fun. So we've done 5 drinks now. We've only got 17 to go. But yes,
we're making up for lost time at the moment.
Yeah.
Man, how cool is this?
That's pretty good.
It's
see,
like
going back to it,
I'm not really like drink a lot of spirits that often. Only really what we sort of do here in bits and pieces and whatever. And there's only so many times I can hear you like, yep, sherry cask, 12 years old. Single malt, all the rest. Oh, well, slightly cooler and blah, 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 blah. And that's ironic because I work in wine. But this is just really shaking the tires up, that's all.
If I wasn't at risk of agreeing with you, I might change my pick just on that very last go-through. But I'm at a risk of agreeing with you, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with
33 was banging as well.
33 I'm going to stick with. Very, very good.
Yum.
Very good. Vino or bourbon? What do you reckon?
We have one more Victorian one to go through.
Let's do it. Let's do a Vino, then we get into some bourbon.
I might leave you to man the ship.
Man the ship. It has been an unbelievable time. It's a funny thing, actually. I spent 3 weeks away, 2 weeks in quarantine, not because I had any old symptoms or had tested positive, but just purely because I was visiting family and wanted to make absolutely sure. So I spent 2 weeks pretty much by myself and a mate who had tested negative before we could spend the last week getting around and having a bit of fun with people. But it's been quite bizarre coming back. 3 weeks of a gap, and you sort of wake up and the world's moved on quite a bit. The news angle's moved on quite a bit. But in reality, nothing's changed. It's all exactly the same. The world is still in this weird dream that we thought we were going to wake up from, and we're still here, but we're going to have a lot of fun while we're doing it. And you can probably see on both streams, just behind me, there's a bit of space here, which is where Japanese whiskey used to be. And part of the fun thing is restocking at the moment, which is going to be quite a bit of fun, particularly across the whiskey shelves, which is going to be good good fun, but also gives us the element to sort of burn things down to the ground and build them back up again, which is quite exciting. I love a blank slate sometimes. So experiments I've done while I was away, and again, if anyone's got any ideas on how we can do this better, I'd be very interested to hear. Spent a lot of time trying to make clear ice, so a lot of like ice molds in insulators, so that things drop to the bottom, so you can carve off the top, and bitters. About 36 coppices filled of vodka, then different herbs in to sort of pull from with syringes and make bitters through. So if anyone got experience with making bitters or very clear ice at home, I'd love to hear them, because I've spent the last 3 weeks doing pretty much not a lot but that. So I'm very interested to see if you can help me with that. Or I just wait another couple of weeks until bars open and I just get them to do it like they always did it, better than I ever will hope to do. So
I just had a quick thought there.
Good. That's
the thing is, when the bars do open up and the people that know what they're doing are back behind the bar, distillery batch Black Snake Old Fashioned with agave and grapefruit bitters. That'd be fun.
As someone who doesn't know what they're doing behind the bar, I'm going to just nod my head and say, "Yep."
I'm keen on one of those. Not that it's not excellent on its own, but I just think like that'd be a really fun thing to sip on.
Cool. Well, so maybe we don't touch that. We're going to leave that. If there's any bartenders out there that would like to help us with that concept, we would like to donate a bit of agave spirit, just for our and your enjoyment.
Yeah.
And we will pay you for the privilege.
Will we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course we will. What do we got? We're back onto vino.
So obviously rounding out the Victorian trio for the night. A little estate number from Clyde Park, based out of Bannockburn in Geelong. Really cool take on Shiraz, this one.
Okay, can we... I've got a bit of a gripe to pull.
Off you go.
Take on. Just that phrase.
Yeah.
So like, this is my take on a meat pie. It's like, no, it's a meat pie or it's not a meat pie. Take on Shiraz. Well, it's Shiraz or it's not Shiraz.
Well, I think everything is a take on something.
I just don't know if I like that terminology. So like, Shiraz, like, it's not a take on Shiraz, it's Geelong Shiraz. Bannockburn's Geelong Shiraz, not Bannockburn's.
Well, are you talking about strictly wine, or you're talking about that term in general?
That term in general, but
you say this is my take on a certain song. Like,
but if that song is Tiny Dancer, then it's wrong.
You can say this is my take on Tiny Dancer.
No, but it's wrong.
Why?
Because Tiny Dancer is perfect as it is.
So what do you call it?
A failed attempt at Tiny Dancer. I just think that term, a take on, tends to diminish what potentially could be, Geelong Shiraz. Geelong's Tiny Dancer.
I just think it's like another term for attempt.
See, attempt means failure.
No, it doesn't.
I attempted to do something.
Yeah, and how'd that go?
Yeah, it sucked. I didn't succeed, I attempted.
Well, yeah, but you could have attempted something and then done very well.
I think you succeed. My success at Shiraz. My successful attempt on Shiraz. I think the word attempt needs the word successful in front of it to make it worthwhile.
But what if you don't know?
Well, you should know. Why are you doing it if you don't know?
Well, how would you know? If you hadn't asked anybody before. If I was the first person to give you my sourdough, and I'd be like, hey, this is my successful attempt at sourdough, yet no one had tried it before.
No, but see,
is this still a successful attempt?
But if you said your take on sourdough, I'd be like, oh, okay, what's he done? What different has he done here? What makes it not sourdough? Or if you said my attempt at sourdough, I was like, oh, fuck, he's done a pretty shit job here.
Well, no, because that's wrong. If I said this is my attempt at sourdough, I'd expect you to judge it evenly and rationally.
I don't think the word attempt needs to be there. It's just, this is my sourdough.
This is
my Shiraz. I come from Geelong. This is my Shiraz. I come from Parramatta. This is my, knife crime.
Yeah, but it depends how you want your. It depends how you want it to be associated. This is my attempt at you know, 3 Michelin starred cooking.
Yeah.
No one expects it to be 3 Michelin starred.
My attempt at 3 Michelin star cooking is not 3 Michelin star cooking.
Yeah, exactly. But you're attempting it.
Even if I had 3 Michelin stars, it would not be 3 Michelin star cooking.
No, I think so. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
Hey, it's like, just, start in the dark. You won't get anywhere without it.
Anyway, it's pretty good. Shiraz, 2017.
Man,
Geelong's attempt on taking on Shiraz. Here we go.
It is their take on Shiraz.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's their Shiraz, not their take on Shiraz. It is their Shiraz.
Well, no, because it's distinctly theirs.
Kathleen Davies, Tony Dancer whiskey was a good drop. Tony Dancer whiskey, I'm sure is a good drop. It's still firmly under cap, Kathleen, because I don't think Tony Dancer whiskey can be drunk alone. And there's been an opportunity to drink it with friends and family yet, which Kathleen and Davies are both friend and family, so that's waiting for a moment there.
We had an excellent one come through on Instagram that says, I'll have you know Parramatta has only the finest artisanal knife grind.
Yeah, bloody hell.
And I don't doubt that.
Sulfur-free knife grind.
Yeah, I like that's the way I want to go, artisanal knife grind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rugby league. I just don't know why I said that. They just seem to come up because we're definitely going to win this year.
But yeah, one of Geelong's sort of top producers there. And what I sort of closed on was like, we always have that discussion of Shiraz Syrah here in Australia, and can be Syrah, can be Shiraz. This for me is super savoury. Really full, like, walks that line of Shiraz Syrah because it has that fruit character, it has that tannin weight, it has that kind of upfront aroma that you expect of Victorian Shiraz, but it still has that really elegant, understated power of Rhone Syrah as well. It's super cool.
So, if you're one of the lucky people to get one of the Brooklotic Australian exclusive single casks today...
Dude, I got hundreds, I'll sell them to you on the
Yeah, so if you're one of the 100 people who weren't one of the lucky people, that was a Syrah cask whiskey from Wodago, as far as I'm aware. We talk about it, it's the same grape.
Mm-hmm.
One's a French spelling,
Mm-hmm.
one's a Western spelling,
Mm-hmm.
an English spelling of an Iranian town called Shiraz.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of production, and when you write Syrah or Shiraz on a grape, you're talking tannin and fruit on Shiraz and drier on Syrah, or?
I think it's probably like it's a much deeper discussion than that. But yeah, I think maybe if you were to put it broadly, like think what you will of a Barossa Shiraz, which is big, it's fruit forward, it's got a lot of tannin, it's probably 14 and a half.
It's very 80s. It's very Peter Sterling.
Very 80s.
Very Peter Sterling.
Bit of new oak, it's quite a rich, stains the glass, that sort of thing. Then you go and you look at a Syrah from Saint Joseph or Hermitage or Crozes Hermitage, which is more spice driven, it's more savoury, it's more of that olive, it's more tomato leaf. The tannins are necessarily less, but they're more integrated. And they prefer older oak, which, little bits of new oak, but more so older oak, really soften it out. It's this bit more of like this, what do you call it?
Wine?
Iron fist and a velvet glove?
Yep. The old velvet hammer.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Whereas, Australian Shiraz, and we both have Australian palates, which just love big upfront flavours, and we like to know about things when we drink them, but, Syrah isn't a protected term yet. I don't think it ever will be, to be fair, but we can sort of play around with that here in Australia, and I do like it because I love seeing cooler climate Australian Shiraz being produced, and then it gets labelled as Syrah, and then people are able to maybe make that difference of going, okay, we're not getting this massive, face-smacking Shiraz, we're getting, a Syrah, but there is the problem that lies in being like, well, maybe certain consumers aren't able to tell, or aren't unaware of the difference between Shiraz and Syrah, and we do see that a little bit.
I'm going to segue that into the question I wrote down about an hour and a half ago, which was sort of a couple of things I was thinking about when you were talking about the expression of the vineyard, expression of the grapes, and thank you. You have a new order for $144.90. Thank you very much, whoever that is. We appreciate it. Come on, whiskey, come on, whiskey, come on, whiskey, come on, whiskey. It's beer, never mind. we were talking about in our newsletter today. We had you showcase the Lata, the rattlesnake, which is a bit of a like French varietal inspired, blend with a lot of skin contact. But one thing that stuck out for me in the description of that wine is that they were looking not so much at the varietals, but in the vineyards they were grown. So, in a case of like Shiraz versus Syrah, is that a case of? Is that a good case of? It doesn't really matter what type of grape is being grown. Obviously, it matters a little bit, but like, where is that balance of? As a winemaker, I want to go make a Shiraz or a Syrah. Am I going looking for a wine-making techniques or growing location?
Well, so I'd say there's no sort of yes or no answer to that, but
I wish there was.
Yeah,
Make this conversation a lot quicker.
Like in the New World, here in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, America, South America, we have a lot of freedom in terms of like if we want to plant that there, we can do that, we can call it that, and we can grow all that sort of thing. So I think we get very obsessed here in Australia and in the New World, especially with varieties. The variety needs to be on the bottle. That's, yes or no. A lot of my background is European wine, and some of my favorite regions are places like Alsace, the Loire Valley, Languedoc-Roussillon, the Moselle River, the Pfalz, certain, Abruzzo, these areas where this was like a time before the labeling kind of went that way in the New World, where you don't call a wine the variety, you call a vineyard. Or you say, this is white Burgundy. What is it? It's Chardonnay, but there's a little bit of Aligoté in there. There might be a little bit of Pinot Gris as well, but that's my white Burgundy vineyard. Or in Alsace, you go, what's in this wine? You go, what's that vineyard? You go, well, what's in it? You go, oh, I don't know, Pinot Gris, some Gewürztraminer, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. But they made wine to express the vineyard, whereas, which like, I'm not saying right or wrong or anything like that, but they're now in Australia we go, well, that it has to be Shiraz, it has to be all Shiraz, whereas so many studies have shown that co-planting varieties is way more beneficial for the vineyard, because if you're planting one clonal Shiraz over 4 hectares and disease sets in, it's going to wipe out that entire vineyard.
So should we be doing more of that in Australia?
We should, and we are.
Okay.
Yeah, there's lots of interplanting and that sort of thing, but it's just different mindset of going, well, that's the Cabernet, that's the Shiraz, that's the Chardonnay, that's the Riesling, all that sort of thing. Whereas I think there's so much to learn from the Europeans in terms of, like here in Australia we come in and someone asks for a Shiraz, but they don't come in and they ask for a Barossa Red.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, I don't know, it's different, but I think there's vineyard-wise, there's a lot of strength in co-planting varieties.
This is a really shit question. It's going to be almost impossible to answer. But say I retire to the country in XYZ state, in XYZ regional area, stumble across a bit of land that's beautiful, that looks like, okay, this is going to be very good, fortuitous to vine growing. And I go, okay, what am I going to grow here? And I grow a couple of things. Am I smarter to grow a bit of everything? And then I say, okay, so I grow what I grow. You don't know what I've grown. Mm-hmm. So I call you up a couple of years later and go, hey, Joey, come down and try my stuff. Here's what it is. Are you concerned more with the varietal or the soil, the aspect, which way it's facing, like how they ripen, that sort of thing? It's a really shit convoluted question.
No, it's kind of a good question.
But it's like it's I guess trying to merge that old world with the new world and try and find that middle ground. If you're starting a winery today, where is that middle ground placed?
Well, I mean, the problem with New World wine production is like, do you want to go out and buy a vineyard, or you want to buy land to plant vines on, and you've got that amount of money? Excellent. Tell me how you're going to make money from it in 5 years. If you're in, if you got land in the Yarra or in the Barossa or whatever, you go, okay, well, I'm in the Barossa, so I'll plant some Shiraz, because I know that Barossa and Shiraz work really well on a label. Therefore, I'm going to be able to sell that 5 years down the track. But we haven't even looked into the fact that you haven't really put any consideration into what is going to go well where you are.
So say I've got more money than sense, and money's not an object. So I'm probably going to be dead, in 50 years' time before my vineyard actually hits its straps, type thing. When I'm talking about, just sort of that at that base level, with no commercial implications, in a new world country like Australia, the varietals versus the soil and what it does to those varietals. Are we actually going to go full circle and actually turn into a little bit of a old world style where you will get Hunter Valley whites, Barossa reds?
I don't think so.
I'm going to make a orange, rosé.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And so, in that case, which do you think is going to be the more dominant, the varietal or the location?
Definitely the varietal, I think. It depends what time span you're talking in here, but I just think that as a country that consumes wine, we're far more attributed to going. Look, we've got a Pinot section, we've got a Cabernet section, we've got a Shiraz section, we've got a Riesling section, all that sort of thing. And then we have a separate section set aside for blends, which is just called alternate reds. Because they could be excellent wines, but for new world consumers, I don't know if you're ever going to trust red blend on a label as opposed to Shiraz.
But see, we get asked every now and again for Marlborough Sauv Blanc. What if it was Marlborough White?
Wouldn't sell it.
No, but what if we had Marlborough White on the shelf and someone came in looking for Marlborough Sauv Blanc? It's here's a white from Marlborough. I've got a gut feeling, or hey, I'm looking for something from South Australia. It's here's a Barossa red. I reckon people would buy it off the name.
No, because I think the level of uncertainty I'm going, especially with a lot of
take our implications of buying and our quality controls out of it. Yes, if they were already here, they've magically appeared on the shelf. Would they sell to people? I think they would.
I don't think they would.
No,
absolutely not. I don't think it's a blessing and a curse that certain regions have made their fame off specific varieties, especially here in Australia. To the point where Merlot is an excellent grape. Look at what Sideways did to that varietal. To the point where you can have a Cabernet lover, if it's Cabernet Merlot from Margaret River, won't touch it because they don't like Merlot. You have no idea where that Merlot came from, how it was made, anything like that. But I think that by listing specific varietals, and even in Australia, it only has to be 85% that varietal. You can blend in other things, as long as it says Shiraz on the label. I just wine consumers love that level of certainty. To go, this is a Shiraz from McLaren Vale, excellent, love it. I'll take that.
Yeah, let's
it's red. What's in this? Is some Petit Verdot, and there's some Montepulciano, and there's some Grenache, and I've never heard of those things before. I don't want it.
Let's get some winemakers on here at some point, please.
Well, no, to be fair, we do spend most of our days trying to sell this sort of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I think we should wrap up there. We have not got anywhere near to the end of where we should have got to tonight, but I think what we might do is switch straight to Instagram and kick on to either myself or Joey's personal Instagram page to continue going live after this. Did you have something to say?
Just following up one question on the Instagram chat here, which says, off tangent a bit, but Australian wine regions formerly famous Orange and Mudgee don't get much love these days. Fair or unfair?
Is that sarcasm? Because Orange and Mudgee are the two most famous wine regions in Australia. Burgundy wishes it was orange. What is Italy as a whole wishes it was Mudgee. So I think anyone who doesn't know the word Orange and Mudgee is the two greatest wine regions of the world, tell them they're dreaming.
Yeah. I think that there's a
Big Bad Bustling Bazza agrees, and if Big Bad Bustling Bazza, good to see you again, mate. Of course, if he says it, it is so.
Well, I think there's a reason why avid wine, consumers and professionals alike do gravitate towards regions like Orange, Mudgee, Canberra, Southern Highlands, Macedon, all those sorts of places because they've never gone the big brand way. Like, the Hunter is an excellent wine region, but they do have the big names to back them up. I feel like Orange and Mudgee might have had those opportunities, but haven't really solidified, big contract, massive winemaking, big money, because we've been to Orange heaps of times.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
what
a
makes
big
them,
town.
That's what makes them the best.
It's not a big town. Like if you go
best.
into one of the top wineries in Orange, you're walking into their front rounds room. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you're sitting down with grandma and granddad and having a beer. Like that's kind of what I love about Orange.
There's been more than one time that I feel I'm breaking into someone's house. Where it's like,
the
silly
less
door
we
this
tell
way.
people about Orange, maybe the better. They'll probably shoot me for it. But as soon as Orange gets mainstream, it's gonna suck.
No, it's going to be brilliant. It's going to live forever. Orange is the future. If anyone is employing in Orange that has some jobs going for someone who has no skills other than really just drinking and talking about drinking, then I'm more than happy to send you a CV very, very soon. But look, we are about, again, an hour over time for the comeback that no one asked for, no one wanted. There were protests on the street, but it certainly wasn't for this. We might wrap up here. Joe is on Instagram at Joe Perry Wine.
My own lemons. Hang on,
I think that's what his name is. I am at fitzsimons.scott, I think. We might take a very quick break so that we can go to the toilets, fill our glasses up, and we might be back in a couple of seconds on the Instagram. For everyone on Facebook, thank you for your questions. If you want to jump across to the old Instagram for the after hours.
Can I just go live on the Oak Barrel one?
You can go live again if you want. I was just thinking if we're going to keep talking, we should probably go live on personal ones. But that's all right. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you very much, guys. We will speak to you soon. There's things coming up. There's tastings and events.
I'll just punch the...
It's all happening. What a time to be alive. He's going to... Yeah, he's doing something there. That's all right. Whatever. I'm going to do this one. Bloody oath. What a time to be alive. Happy days.